Employability in Sports Media, Assessment 2, Shiroz Qureshi. Introduction. In this presentation, I'll be reflecting on my experience over the past 8 months from finding a placement, the journey whilst in the role, and what is next to come for me. I will also include an action plan pinpointing the steps which I'll take further in my career to make sure that I avoid any mistakes I may have made this time around, and how I'll maximize taking advantage of future opportunities. I'll do this by reflecting on my work using Gibbs's reflective cycle. First steps on getting started. Firstly, I would like to mention that finding a placement was definitely a lot harder than I thought it would be, and it came with a lot of challenges along the way. I've further talked about this in Journal Entry A. Starting my search by emailing a bunch of non-league clubs in and around Yorkshire, offering them my services as a volunteer student who can just come down and help. However, I didn't have much luck with this, as a lot of them most of the time just didn't reply, or a lot of them who did reply may just not have had the availability at the time, or the location wasn't very good for me, or there's a few challenges that came up. But facing these challenges, I did learn that finding a job in the industry will never come easy, and you're bound to face multiple rejections based on several factors such as availability, location, and experience required. The beginning is always the hardest part of the journey, but it's important to remember that every expert was once a beginner. I feel like this quote is quite fitting, as currently I am a beginner, but every expert sports journalist, which is what I want to get to, was also a beginner at some point. So everyone has to go through it. Development areas. I'm going to reflect on my time on placement and pick out key areas in which I feel I've made the most progress and developed in. These will include personal, academic, and career developments. Reflecting is important to gain perspective and understanding of the significance of improving skills with a clear mind when away from a working environment. Nothing in life is as important as you think while you are thinking about it. This is a good quote to suggest that when we're in the working environment, sometimes we can't think straight and think clearly, and coming away and reflecting afterwards allows us to definitely make better decisions and see where we might have went wrong and what we could have done better in the future. So this is what I'm going to be doing today. Personal development. One of my main areas that I feel I developed and improved the most during my time on placement is the ability to grow a growth mindset and increase my willingness to learn and pick up new skills. Dweck states, in a growth mindset, challenges are rather exciting than threatening. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to reveal my weaknesses, you say, wow, here's a chance to grow. And I feel like this is definitely something I tried to do, go into my placements with an open mindset, as I knew I wasn't going to be the most experienced there. So the best thing to do would be to try and learn and pick up skills of different people. A growth mindset allows you to push beyond barriers and achieve levels you may have not thought were possible, and therefore allows you to end up in scenarios you may not have encountered with a closed mindset. Personal development. A further personal aspect I aimed to develop over the course of my placement was my communication skills. This is, of course, one of the most important skills for a sports journalist to obtain. Effective communication is 20% what you know and 80% how you feel about what you know. This quote emphasizes the importance of communication skills, not just in conveying information, but also in how it's delivered and received. There are multiple forms of effective communication, and I worked on many of these. For example, during my time on placement when I was foreshadowing at Staley Bridge, which I've talked about in Journal Entry C, I was taught skills and techniques on how to write better to mass audiences and what type of language to use depending on the piece of content being produced, as it's good to have different types of communication skills and use different types in depending on what content you're making and how many people it's going out to. Academic development. The academic development that I felt I made the most at, during my time at placement was understanding the evolution of sports journalism in the digital age. I've talked about this further in Journal Entry B. As decades ago, the newspaper was the main source of output for sports news, and this is how people used to get all their news in the morning. But now it's definitely changed as there's so much social media, such as Instagram, TikTok, and even apps like Sky Sports, where people get their news in minutes. Sports journalists need to adapt to the changing media landscape by embracing digital tools and platforms. This is backed up by Steen. Sports journalism has never been more multi-faced or complex than in the digital age. Interactive multimedia offers new ways to engage audiences and enhance the storytelling process. With the development of real-time reporting and the use of social media, I sharpened my skills whilst on placement by doing Instagram live stories and to give live updates and assist in producing instant match reports. I feel like this is a good skill for me to learn, as sometimes you have to get a story out really, really fast within 1 or 2 minutes, or a match report straight out after the game. And you need to always just be switched on and be able to do something like an Instagram live or TikTok sometimes and just get it out on the spot. Next, I'll be talking about my career development. A career-based development that I felt I made based I felt improvements on would be to always maintain professionalism. Growing up as a sports fan, it can definitely be easy to get overwhelmed by um, by professional sporting environments, as for example the people that are there, such high profile people, and sometimes when you get to big stadiums. However, my time at Staley Bridge helped me realise it is key to present yourself at the highest level possible, and I've talked about this further in Journal Entry C. Professionalism is essential in sports journalism as it underpins credibility, integrity, and trust, ensuring accurate, fair, and responsible reporting that upholds the standards of the profession. This supports the fact that professionalism is an imperative quality for sports journalists to have. I found that when taking interviews, maintaining professionalism will also earn you respect and you're taken more seriously, which is always a positive for any journalist, as when you're taking an interview, you don't want the other person to be disengaged, and you keeping a maximum level of professionalism will have them more engaged in the conversation and have them giving better answers, which is in turn better for your interview and for the content that you're going to make. Another career development. Another career development that I feel I made was improving my filming and editing skills, which is something that can be used further down the line if I were to go into photo or film journalism. I did this a lot whilst I was working with the Urban Ballers team by helping them produce some of their short clips and reels, which they put out on TikTok and Instagram. They've currently got just over 16,000 followers on TikTok, and I feel like that was a bit of pressure because I knew I was producing content which was going to be seen by lots of people, and this only pushed me to make better content that I knew was good. I believe adding this element to my skill set allows me to express my talents through something other than communication and writing. This is backed by Good and Lau, as they state photojournalism serves as the eyes and ears of the public, providing a visual narrative of our world that informs challenges and inspires action. I'll now be talking about my action plan that I've created going forward. Following my assessment of the areas in which I felt I've developed the most, to ensure I reflect fully, I must also note the key areas in which I could develop more to give myself the best chance of standing out to the employers after finishing this course. In this section, I'm going to be explaining the action plan that I've created by using SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Having SMART goals provides a clear framework for achieving success and fostering motivation. Setting these goals will allow me to have a clear plan and idea of how to achieve them, and I'll set a short term, a medium term, and a long term goal, allowing me to have multiple goals to strive towards in the future. My short term SMART goal: apply the skills I've learned at placement into the projects I'm working at university right now to ensure I can get the best grades possible. The end date for this is the 7th of May, as this is when this course finishes for this year, and that is when all my assignments will be due in. My objectives to get this done: stay on top of my skills by practicing them in my spare time, and develop the ability to know what techniques should be applied when, and this will in turn help me become a better sports journalist. And how will I know that I've completed this? By using multiple techniques in my work whilst I'm producing them, and by receiving positive feedback from my tutors when I get my grades back in the summer. The actions I'm going to take are going to be to watch YouTube videos to keep learning even when I'm not on placement, and also to try and talk to people with experience in this field. For example, maybe some of the third years right now who did this last year and they've been in my boots, so it'd be good to get an insight and better knowledge from them. My medium-term SMART goal is to build up a portfolio of content that I can send out to employers to display my skills. And I'll be starting this on May 2024 and ending in September 2024. So I've got all of summer to get a good portfolio sorted. And the objectives will be to have multiple pieces of work which I can use for the portfolio to make an impressive display for myself. And I'll know that I've completed this by at the end of the summer. I've got a good portfolio that I can send back to my tutors and get feedback from them on it, and also I can send out to potential job employers. And the actions are going to be to make sure I get out to loads of games so I can use the content from them, and also to sharpen up my writing skills to make sure I make the best content possible. My long-term SMART goal is going to be to secure a permanent job role in the media team at a club. I'll be starting this in September 2024 and ending in June 2025. So I've got all of third year to start looking and decide exactly what it is I want to look for. And then hopefully by the end of the third year, I've got a permanent job role. My objectives to do this are to establish a strong presence in the sports journalism industry by securing a full-time position with reputable sports media organisation and providing value using the skills I've learned on my course. I'll know I've completed this when I agree to a position with an organisation, and the action I'm going to do to get there are make sure I'm always on the lookout and searching for these roles, as now I know that it don't come easy, and over the next year always put in 100% to try build an impressive portfolio I can use to apply for these jobs. These here are the references that I've used for this PowerPoint. This is journal entry A. This is journal entry B. This is journal entry C. And this is journal entry D. This is my supervisor form from Bar Hatashani. This is the supervisor form from Reese Bogart. And there was another 30 hours done with Gary Beaumont. However, he did not get the form back in time. Thank you for listening.